opportunity to compete in bare knuckle, but did you need a little time away after the setback, or was it just such a unique opportunity that you had to take it?
No, not at all. It's actually, it's kind of the opposite. So lost the fight. If you remember when I fought Lima, I lost the Lima fight, I was active. I was like, I need to get that back, and I'm going to fight everybody and anybody to, and as often as possible. It was exactly the same thing. So finished the fight, started making phone calls, speaking to Scott Coker and so on and so forth. They said they're not going to have anybody available or any slots available, obviously looking at the rankings and blah, 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 for a while. And I was like, bro, I can't wait. I'm sorry. I'm not waiting. I'll go and box. I'll go do something. So, I started making calls to start boxing. Obviously got a lot of connections in the boxing world. And then in that time, in that process, this fell on the plate. So I was like, oh, kind of, it's opportunistic, but I was already looking to do something anyway, just because Bellator didn't have anything available for me to kind of come back as soon as possible. So that fell on the plate, made sense. Bellator allowed me to do it because they knew I wasn't going to be able to come, be here for a little while. And yeah, ended up just going over there, trying something different.
I'm curious, how much your training routine changes, right? Because you knew it was kind of a one-off more than a career change. Mm-hmm. So did you keep training the MMA skills, or did you stop for a while? How did that look?
No, the training was slightly different, but I just kept up with the, the wrestling, jiu-jitsu and so on and so forth. But the stand-up side, the aspect of it was different. I value combat and combat athletes, especially when you take a sidestep to different things, too much to not focus on it. So yeah, we had to focus on it. I was doing, conditionings for my knuckles and so on and so forth. So yeah, no, I had to, your training does adjust. I just didn't want to neglect completely what is my bread and butter.
Nice. Well, now you're back in Bellator, MMA again. I'm curious, fighting here in the United States, you've done it before, but I wonder if it's almost easier for you, right? Because I feel like you're one of the faces of this company, but when you're fighting in England, London, it's a whole different level, right? So is it almost like a breath of fresh air to come here and not as much to do?
No, I can't say that. It's just different, because I still enjoy the aspect of fighting in home turf, regardless of all the additions that come with it. But yeah, being over here is just different, it's different. I still get the same kind of love over here as well. So I always enjoy myself.
Nice. Talk about Goiti as an opponent, right? You two guys, we're in different weight classes, but you've both been around this company for a long time. So what do you think about finally kind of matching up with him? And have you kind of watched his career, even though he wasn't in your weight class?
Yeah, well, we fought on the same shows many a times. So yeah, I've as a fan of the sport and a fan of high profile names, he was one of them. Obviously, like you said, he wasn't in my weight division at the time. He's moved up and he's now competition. And someone that's got the highest submission rate in Bellator, you can't ignore him. Even if he wasn't in my division, you can't ignore him. You're going to see him. You're going to see them highlight reel finishes that he does just in jiu-jitsu. So yeah, no, I think it's a great clash of styles, and I'm looking forward to it.
Last thing for me, like I said, just had a title shot. Normally that means you got to build yourself back up, but that's not the champ anymore, right? So it kind of changes things up a little bit. So are you looking at this as a potential number one contender fight?
I think that's what it is. It just makes the most sense that that's what it is. I don't see anybody else ready to be in our position. So yeah, I think winner of this fights the winner of the next title to fight, which is most likely going to be Jason Jackson and I myself.
If they didn't have you do that, if they said we want you to fight Storley again instead, is that something you are down for?
Yeah. I'm a grudge specialist. I hold grudges. So yeah, he's beat me. So I'd like to run that back and get that back, definitely.
Because Goiti fought down as low as 145 and he spent most of his career at 155. Do you feel like now that he's at 170, you may have some kind of a size advantage in there, or will that, other than just obviously the height and a little bit of reach?
Yeah, that's it. Outside of the obvious advantages of size and reach, combat doesn't work like that. I actually feel wrestlers and jiu-jitsu guys, I think more so wrestlers, are the only guys that can be undersized and be fine to compete in a division above themselves, because they got the great equalizer of making you the same size and by putting you on your back. I actually met Daniel Cormier yesterday as well, and if you actually look at us, I'm way bigger. Frame wise, obviously he's stockier, but I'm way bigger, and he was a heavyweight. You know what I mean? So I think wrestlers get away with being able to be, slightly smaller for the division. And I think if you are a high level jiu-jitsu guy, you can also do the same thing. And he is a high level jiu-jitsu guy.
You mentioned the clash of styles. You just mentioned his jiu-jitsu, obviously. Is it as simple as he needs to get the fight to the ground and you need to keep the fight standing up, or are you both going to say, hey, but I'm pretty good on the ground, and he's going to say, hey, but I'm pretty good at the stand-up?
Yeah, I personally believe it's as simple as, I want him in my arena, and he wants me in his arena. A comment has been made, supposedly from him, where he says, I think MVP's underestimating my striking. I'm not underestimating your striking. I just don't believe your level of striking is my level. And if you want to play striking, I'm happy to do that all day. So I think this is where egos get in the way sometimes, and I don't think that's necessary. I value you and I appreciate you, and I aspire to get to your level of jiu-jitsu, but I'm not going to try and compete against you just for the sake of showing that I can do jiu-jitsu. I know I can do jiu-jitsu. I don't need to prove to anybody that I can do jiu-jitsu. I'm just not your level. I haven't done it as long as you, and I'm not as skilled as you, and I can accept that. Put my ego to one side and then just try to knock you out, because that's what I do best.
MVP, what's up, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Good. We've already mentioned Storley and Amasov here. Just curious, what'd you make of the rematch that just took place? Thoughts?
Yeah, it had a bit of a mix of emotions. The first thing, it was a bit of a disappointment, because I kind of expected it to be kind of back and forth, similar to their first fight. But then it was amazing because one fighter, Amasov, he was a coach in that fight. He was literally teaching people lessons, how to do this and how to do that, and striking from beautiful angles, combinations, firing back after, even if he got grazed a little bit, he'd fire back 5 shots to his, to Storley's 1. It was a masterpiece. It was artwork for me. Like I'm a fan. I'm a combat fan. That's first and foremost. Before I'm a combat athlete, I'm a fan, and it genuinely was to be sitting at the side. I felt privileged to be sitting at the side to witness what he did there. But yeah, again, disappointing because I just felt like Storley played the complete wrong game, and I just spoke about egos, and I feel like the fight with me weighed heavy on his head because I feel like he was then too worried about people saying that he couldn't strike. Yeah. And then went into the next fight trying to prove to everybody that I can strike, and it's not necessary. And even then, it took him 2 rounds to realize that maybe I should go for takedowns. And by that point, his leg was busted up. So then it basically took even his wrestling ability away. And I feel like at the high level, honestly speaking, you should have that decision should have been made way quicker. I'm talking, I wouldn't even give it a round. If I try something and in the first minute it's not working, I'm definitely not staying in this place. My head's rocking back like that, then we're gonna have to make some changes. And then on top of that, the fact that he came back out the second round, left it the whole round doing the same thing, came back out the second round, still playing the same game. And again, I mean no disrespect. It's just shocking to me that even the experience of his corner still didn't. I haven't actually heard it back to know if they did tell him, or he just didn't listen. Do you know what I mean? But if they didn't and they just said, yeah, no, you're getting closer or something, I don't know. Then yeah, it was bad all around tactically. And it should have been a lot closer to the first fight, and it would have been the last 2 rounds would have made a decision of where it was going to go versus it was just one-sided.
A pretty great assessment there, man. And I mean, just looking at your career specifically, very few setbacks, obviously, one of them with Storley there, but some people will say that you learn more from the losses than the wins. I don't know if you would say that's the case for you, but when you look at like your biggest learning experience, what would you say that was?
It's weird. Like again, I know that's a saying. I've never personally agreed with it. And I don't know if it's because I'm just harder on myself, or I just think that's an easy way out. I feel as soon as people win, like I can have a fight with somebody, win the fight, and have made so many mistakes in that fight, and because I won, I'm no longer going to actually back at that fight and actually learn from anything, all the mistakes that I made. So therefore, I'm going to enter the next fight the exact same level. Yeah, because I haven't learned anything. You should be learning from every single experience. Every single time I go into the gym and I do something, I make a mistake. Even if I won the round, I'm focused on the mistake, because doing the good thing is they're doing the good thing. I can keep doing, that's easy. But the bad things is what I need to keep improving on. So for me, learning experiences come from every experience. I feel the emotional attachment to how you feel when you're feeling down about losing makes people focus a bit more on the loss. But for me, it's the same. I don't change much because I lost this particular way, and I'm like, oh man, I need to all of my energy needs to be focused on this. No. I just pick out the mistakes and what I need to doctor and change, and then get back to the drawing board as normal.
There you go, man. And I want to get your prediction on the lightweight Grand Prix. As a fan of MMA, fantastic, plenty of great fighters in there. But who do you think's going to come out on top of the whole thing here? Who you leaning towards?
Man, I don't know. To be fair, I have to say, it's difficult. There's some great styles in there. There's some great. Trying to think if I can just pick one, but even if the first round of fights is great matchups. I'm actually really enjoying what Bellator are doing, what they're putting together, the matchmakers, and yeah, it's great. So I'm just going to sit back and watch this one and just enjoy, and just whatever happens. But every single athlete in there is unbelievable.
Absolutely, man. Best of luck.
Thank you.
So almost 10 years to the day from when you made your Bellator debut at Bellator 93. Now we're at Bellator 292. Can you put into words what these last 10 years have been like?
You just made me feel mad old, boy. Yeah, no, I've had some epic experiences here. Some, the journey has been. It's like anything. I think you have ups and downs. I can get frustrated with this organization and then be amazed with this organization. Like I said, what they're doing, the tournament style, the entrances I've always loved. And then there's, then I'll knock heads about something and then they fix it. So I'm back. I'm back. Like, yeah, man, I'm loving this place. And then in terms of the shows that I've been a part of, unbelievable, just amazing. So I'm just glad I'm glad the decision that I've made to be in an organization like this, which they do look after their fighters. They do listen to their fighters as well. And the shows, they just keep getting, they keep getting better and better. There's obviously things I can always, from my point of view as a fighter, I can critique. But I do love what they're doing. I love how they're growing. And yeah, I love that I've been a massive part of it.
And on August 17th, 2022, you fought Mike Perry, Leon Edwards fought Kamaru Usman. Now, 6 months later, you guys are fighting 1 week apart. How big of a week is this for UK MMA?
Oh man, I think we've done well, and just in general, man. Like over the last 3-4 years, then the amount of new talent that's coming through is unbelievable. And then obviously with Leon Edwards taking that from Usman is great. I think people, for a long time have kind of downplayed the UK. I say downplayed. It's like, oh, you're going to get the odd 1 or 2 stars, but especially the MMA level, it's not high enough yet. But I think we've definitely more than proven that that's not the case. So, it's going to be an amazing week for the UK.
And run down 2 quick ones for me. What are your thoughts on Mike Perry versus Luke Rockhold being announced?
Yeah, that was a shock. It was a shock, not too much of a shock for Mike on Mike Perry's side, simply because that guy will fight a rhino, because he just there's something's missing upstairs. But he's a great character. I have to say I'm actually a fan of him. I think he's a cool character for the sport. Like almost wrestling-esque, that kind of character that you would love to just the energy that he brings just in the build-up is great. But for Luke Rockhold, guess surprising. I'm not, yeah, I guess it's a bit more surprising on that side. He's going to be a lot the bigger fighter, but stylistically it suits Perry a bit better. But he is the bigger guy. And Mike Perry doesn't necessarily avoid shots well. So it's a great fight. It's a great fight. So I'm definitely going to be tuned in.
And last one for me, can I get some quick words on Man United?
Oh man, you want to do that to me now? You want to do that to me now? Okay, so we had a terrible day the other day. we had I was sat there watching the whole. It was just killing me. Like every goal was just. I felt like I was cutting myself. It was horrible to watch. But you could also see their heads drop, and it was funny. I feel like we kind of needed it anyway. And when I say needed it, it's just a reminder that as well as you are doing, there's still a lot to be done. And if we just had like a 2-0 loss or a 1-0 loss, it wouldn't necessarily highlight that because Liverpool are such a great team. So it'd be like, yeah, obviously, it was going to be close contention. It would still make it feel like Man United are at where they're supposed to be right now. And I think Ten Hag has done amazing, thus far. And he's going to continue to do. I thought that from the beginning, how strict he's been with the players is just you see that added discipline is needed for people, and you see how they're performing. But right now they're on tired legs, and there's not enough people to replace, not enough high level people to replace. Going from the Barcelona game straight into the Newcastle game into a West Ham game, it was like a lot of difficult games back to back. And then to have to try and play Liverpool and be the same, it was difficult. And the second one goal it was more, I think it was that the goal at the beginning of the second half. So although we're losing 1-0, it was like, mate, we can get this back because we were almost pushing them. It almost looked like we was going to score just before they scored. And then second half, they scored again. It's kind of like, heads drop a little bit. Then they get the third one, and in the fashion that they did it, and I saw all the heads drop, and there were people kicking out players' legs and getting yellow cards unnecessarily. But I still have a lot of faith in Man United. I just feel like that was a great lesson to have, just as a reminder that we still got a lot of work to do.
Thank you, Michael.